Chapter 1: Fallen Feathers. Li Wei was used to being overlooked. As a servant in the Silver Lotus sect, he was barely acknowledged, his efforts unappreciated, his family's honor long forgotten. But he held on to his dreams of reclaiming his family's lost legacy, training in secret at night, practicing basic forms with only a battered sword and his willpower to guide him. One evening, while gathering herbs for the sect's alchemy stores on a forbidden mountain, he noticed a strange light emanating from a rocky crevice. Curiosity pulled him closer, and he found a magnificent, glowing feather, its aura ancient, pulsing with unknown power. The moment his fingers brushed the feather, a voice resonated within his mind, strong and ageless. "I am Feng Huan, the celestial phoenix. Long have I slumbered, awaiting one worthy of my power. Will you accept my pact?" Stunned, Li Wei didn't hesitate. With a determined nod, he accepted, feeling a surge of energy flood his body. Pain racked him as the phoenix's essence merged with his soul, transforming his chi pathways and unlocking strength he had never imagined. As the night turned to dawn, Li Wei knew he was no longer the same. He had been chosen, and there would be no turning back. But with this new power came responsibility and a growing target on his back. Chapter 2: Awakening Flames. The following days were challenging as Li Wei struggled to control the phoenix's power. Every time he attempted to summon it, flames burst out uncontrollably, scorching his hands and searing his nerves. The pain was immense, but the voice of Feng Huan pushed him to endure, reminding him that true strength required both patience and mastery. Rumors began to spread through the sect about a strange energy signature emanating from the mountain where Li Wei had discovered the feather. The elders, sensing the disturbance, grew uneasy, and disciples were warned to avoid the mountain. Yet Li Wei, harboring his secret, grew bolder. He realized that he had no choice but to reveal his progress publicly by entering the upcoming sect tournament, a place where disciples displayed their abilities and competed for status. As the tournament drew near, Li Wei trained harder, his body adapting to the fierce flames that once threatened to consume him. Feng Huang's presence was a constant guide, teaching him techniques and focusing his mind. By the time the tournament arrived, he felt ready, though doubts lingered in the back of his mind. He could feel the eyes of other disciples watching, their mockery barely hidden. He was, after all, a mere servant. What right did he have to compete with true cultivators? Chapter 3: The Sect Tournament. The tournament arena was packed with spectators as disciples clashed in fierce combat, demonstrating techniques honed through years of training. When it was Li Wei's turn to fight, the crowd's laughter was barely concealed. His opponent, Zhang Bo, a smug senior disciple, laughed openly as Li Wei took his place in the ring. Zhang Bo sneered, dismissing him as a lowly servant, but Li Wei remained calm, channeling the phoenix's essence. Feng Huang's voice whispered words of encouragement, urging him to unleash his power without fear. As Zhang Bo lunged forward, Li Wei dodged effortlessly, summoning his flames in a controlled burst. The crowd gasped as his hands erupted in fire, a feat they never expected from someone of his status. The fight intensified, with Zhang Bo desperately trying to keep up. But Li Wei's newfound agility and fiery attacks were too much. With a final phoenix flame burst, he overwhelmed Zhang Bo, who fell to the ground, singed and defeated. The arena fell silent, then erupted into murmurs of shock and disbelief. Elder Zhen, watching from the stands, narrowed his eyes thoughtfully. There was something more to this servant, something ancient and dangerous. As Li Wei left the arena, he knew this was just the beginning. His victory had gained him recognition, but also the attention of powerful forces within the sect who wouldn't take his rise lightly. Chapter 4: The Aftermath of Flames. After the tournament, Li Wei felt the shift in the sect. Some disciples began to respect him, while others eyed him with jealousy and suspicion. Zhang Bo, humiliated by his defeat, was among the latter. Nursing his bruises and damaged pride, Zhang Bo vowed revenge and wasted no time gathering other disciples who resented Li Wei's unexpected power. Li Wei continued training, but the strain of balancing Feng Huan's energy with his own was growing. During a nighttime practice session, Feng Huan warned him that such power came with risks. If he lost control, the flames could consume him. But Li Wei, stubborn as always, pushed on, determined to master his new abilities. One night, he was ambushed by Zhang Bo and his followers, who surrounded him, taunting him and demanding he reveal the source of his power. Li Wei tried to stay calm, but the tension was palpable. The fight was inevitable. Summoning his Phoenix Claw Strike, he defended himself, using his flames to fend off multiple opponents at once. Just as the battle reached its peak, Elder Jin appeared, dispersing the crowd with a single wave of his hand. The elder pulled Li Wei aside, his tone grave. He revealed that he knew of the ancient phoenix spirit within him, and that such power was dangerous not just for Li Wei, but for everyone around him. The elder warned him that powerful enemies would come for him, drawn to the very power he sought to master. Chapter 5: The Mysterious Alchemist. The next day, Li Wei found himself drawn to the alchemy quarters, searching for herbs to help him recover from his injuries. There, he met Yu Ling, a talented alchemist with a fascination for rare spirits and legends. Yu Ling had watched his fight, intrigued by the flames that marked his technique. Recognizing the unmistakable aura of an ancient spirit, she offered him a special elixir to stabilize his qi, curious to see how it would affect him. Li Wei hesitated, but Yu Ling's curiosity was genuine. As he drank the elixir, he felt his energy flow more smoothly, the flames easier to control. Yu Ling offered to help him refine his qi, teaching him a meditative technique that calmed the turbulence within him. Over the next few days, the two became allies, with Yu Ling intrigued by the phoenix's presence and Li Wei grateful for her guidance. Their bond deepened when, one evening, a beast was unleashed in the alchemy quarters, crashing through walls and endangering the disciples within. Li Wei and Yu Ling fought side by side, combining their skills to drive the beast back. With Yu Ling's alchemical concoctions and Li Wei's phoenix flame burst, they managed to subdue the beast, proving their strength as a team. Afterward, Yu Ling hinted at her suspicions that Li Wei's power was linked to a myth she had studied as a child, a myth of a celestial phoenix that could reshape the cultivation world. As they parted, she promised to help him learn more, sensing that his fate might be far greater than either of them realized. Chapter 6: The Spirit Realm Challenge. As Li Wei continued his training, news spread of an upcoming Spirit Realm trial, a sacred test for the sect's most promising disciples, designed to push them to their limits. The Spirit Realm was a place of illusions, filled with spiritual beasts and ancient energies that tested the very core of one's soul. Only those with unshakable wills and refined qi dared to enter, and it was rare for a disciple as young as Li Wei to be invited. To the surprise of many, Li Wei's name was called. His recent display of power had earned him a place, sparking whispers among the disciples, many of whom doubted he could survive such a trial. Yet Yu Ling, confident in his abilities, insisted on joining him. She saw this as an opportunity to unlock more secrets about the phoenix spirit within him and offered her skills to keep him balanced during the trial. As Li Wei and Yu Ling stepped into the spirit realm, a sense of unease washed over him. Feng Huang's voice warned him to stay vigilant, as the realm would draw upon his deepest fears and memories. Almost immediately, Li Wei began experiencing visions haunting memories of his family's fall and the disgrace that had forced him into servitude. The illusions intensified, bringing forth anger and despair that threatened to overwhelm him. Yu Ling sensed his struggle and quickly reminded him of his purpose, anchoring him back to reality. They pressed on together, encountering several disciples who were equally disoriented and scattered by the realm's illusions. At the heart of the realm, they came face to face with a monstrous shadow beast, a guardian creature that served as the final test. Li Wei summoned all his strength, channeling his phoenix flame burst to protect himself and Yu Ling from the beast's onslaught. Meanwhile, Yu Ling prepared an alchemical smoke to disorient the creature, giving Li Wei the opportunity to strike. Together, they defeated the shadow beast, emerging victorious. Upon leaving the spirit realm, they found Elder Jin waiting for them, his gaze sharp as he warned Li Wei that surviving the trial only brought him closer to a destiny filled with both power and peril. Chapter 7: Secrets in the Dark. After the spirit realm trial, Elder Jin summoned Li Wei to a hidden chamber beneath the sect grounds. The walls were lined with ancient records and artifacts, remnants of times long forgotten. Elder Jin, seeing Li Wei's potential and sensing the unique nature of his power, felt compelled to share the sect's most guarded secrets. He led Li Wei to a stone tablet inscribed with stories of the celestial phoenix, an elusive and feared power in the cultivation world. Elder Jin explained that the celestial phoenix was not just a legend but a force that once roamed the world, a spirit capable of both incredible creation and unimaginable destruction. It was said that those who attempted to control it met with ruin, as the phoenix's power defied containment. Li Wei's family, he revealed, had likely been guardians of this ancient spirit, and it was this role that led to their fall. Powerful factions, fearing the phoenix's potential, had eliminated his family to prevent its revival. The revelation left Li Wei stunned. His entire life had been shaped by a power he barely understood, and now he realized that enemies far greater than the sect itself were watching him. As Li Wei processed this information, Zhang Bo, still harboring resentment from his defeat, spied on the conversation. Realizing the potential danger Li Wei's power posed, he decided to expose him as a threat to the sect. Gathering a group of disciples, Zhang Bo confronted Li Wei in the hidden chamber, accusing him of practicing dark arts. Though outnumbered, Li Wei's confidence was unshaken. With the phoenix's guidance, he summoned his phoenix flame claw, disarming each disciple with precision and restraint, proving that he was not a danger to the sect, but rather a protector. Elder Jin intervened, reprimanding Zhang Bo and warning the disciples to show respect, reminding them that Li Wei's strength might one day safeguard them all. Chapter 8: Journey to the Ruins. The revelation about his family's past left Li Wei restless. He could not shake the feeling that there was more to the phoenix spirit than even Elder Jin knew. In his pursuit of answers, Li Wei was approached by Yuling, who had spent the days following the spirit realm trial researching ancient texts. She told him of an ancient ruined site beyond the sect's borders, rumored to hold relics related to the phoenix legend. Though the journey would be dangerous, she believed that they might find a clue to unlock more of Feng Huang's potential. Li Wei agreed, and under the cover of night, they ventured into the misty forests surrounding the sect, traveling to the ruins hidden deep within the mountains. The journey was treacherous, filled with rogue cultivators and wild beasts. As they neared the ruins, the presence of Feng Huang grew stronger, warning Li Wei of lurking dangers. Just as they entered the ruins, they were ambushed by a group of rogue cultivators, drawn by the phoenix's aura. The battle was fierce and relentless. Li Wei and Yuling fought with everything they had, Li Wei unleashing his phoenix flame burst to keep attackers at bay while Yuling wielded alchemical potions and smoke bombs to disorient the rogues. At the peak of the battle, one rogue trapped Yuling in a binding spell, taunting Li Wei with the threat of harm to her. Fueled by anger and desperation, Li Wei's flames intensified, his eyes glowing with the full power of the phoenix spirit. He unleashed a devastating attack, the flames engulfing his opponent and forcing the rogues to flee. With the area cleared, Li Wei and Yuling finally reached the center of the ruins, where they discovered a golden feather relic, pulsating with an ancient energy that resonated with Feng Huang's presence. The phoenix spirit recognized it as a piece of its own past, and as Li Wei touched the relic, he felt a surge of knowledge flow into him. This relic held the key to unlocking even more of the phoenix's power, but it also came with a warning: the greater the power, the greater the danger. Returning to the sect, they found Elder Jin awaiting their arrival. He had sensed their journey and understood that they were on a path that would change the fate of the sect and perhaps the entire cultivation world. As Li Wei held the golden feather, he knew that the challenges ahead would test not only his strength but his very resolve. For better or worse, his journey with Feng Huang had only just begun. Chapter 9: The Cost of Power. Li Wei's encounter with the golden feather relic left him shaken. The power he felt from it was immense, yet it also came with a sense of impending danger. Returning to the sect, he found his control over the phoenix flames growing stronger, but something felt off. The phoenix spirit, Feng Huang, warned him that with this new level of strength, his very soul would be tested. In the days that followed, strange symptoms began to plague him: faint visions of flames, whispers of ancient voices, and a burning sensation that flared up during meditation. Yuling noticed his growing fatigue and urged him to slow down, but Li Wei pushed forward, determined to reach new heights. One night, during training, he collapsed as a vision consumed him entirely. He saw a past life of Feng Huang, soaring over battlefields, incinerating foes who sought to claim its power. When he awoke, Elder Jin was by his side, a grim expression on his face. The elder explained that wielding the phoenix spirit came with an inner cost: a struggle between one's human will and the spirit's desires. Should he lose balance, Feng Huang would take control, and Li Wei would lose himself forever. Realizing the severity of his journey, Li Wei resolved to master his power at any cost. Chapter 10: Shadows of Betrayal. Tensions within the sect reached a peak as rumors about Li Wei's power and past spread. Zhang Bo, who had always resented him, stirred up fear among the disciples, claiming that Li Wei's abilities would bring disaster. He whispered rumors that Li Wei had been corrupted by dark spirits, and soon, several disciples began to question Li Wei's loyalty to the sect. While Li Wei trained, whispers followed him wherever he went, and even Yu Ling noticed the cold stares cast in his direction. Determined to defend his friend, Yu Ling confronted Zhang Bo, accusing him of spreading lies. But Zhang Bo, smirking, hinted that he had proof of Li Wei's dangerous power. Unbeknownst to them, he had witnessed Li Wei's collapse during training and had taken it as evidence that the Phoenix spirit was overtaking his mind. As the accusations grew, Elder Jin intervened, warning Zhang Bo to stop sowing discord within the sect. Yet Zhang Bo had already set his plans in motion, determined to prove that Li Wei's rise would bring ruin to them all. Li Wei, caught between loyalty to his sect and his own survival, realized he would need to confront these fears head-on, for the sect's trust was slipping further away with each passing day. Chapter 11: The Forbidden Library. Determined to understand more about Feng Huang's ancient nature, Li Wei sought answers in the sect's forbidden library, a place few disciples dared to enter. Yu Ling accompanied him, her curiosity matching his resolve. Together, they ventured deep into the darkened hall, lit only by dim lanterns and the faint glow of enchanted scrolls. They found a collection of ancient texts on legendary spirits and guardians. One text in particular caught their attention: the Chronicles of the Celestial Phoenix. Within its pages, they learned of the phoenix's cyclical nature, an entity destined to be reborn but also prone to consuming its host if the balance was not carefully maintained. The text warned that those who sought to control the phoenix too hastily would be reduced to ashes, for the phoenix demanded purity of heart and mind. As they pored over the ancient writings, they heard footsteps approaching. Quickly, they hid in the shadows as Elder Jin entered the library, studying the very same text they had been reading. When he left, they followed him, but he seemed to vanish into the darkness. Li Wei realized the elder might know more than he had shared, possibly even possessing secrets of the phoenix that could either save or doom him. Returning to his quarters, Li Wei resolved to confront Elder Jin about what he knew. But a new fear crept into his heart: was he truly strong enough to control Feng Huang, or would he become another victim of the phoenix's unyielding power? Chapter 12: Rising Flames. In the days following their discovery, Li Wei felt the phoenix's energy intensify within him. Meditation became a battle, with the flames threatening to escape his control. Yu Ling, sensing his struggle, created a special potion to help calm his mind, but even this only brought temporary relief. One night, as he trained alone under the moonlight, he felt an overwhelming surge of energy, stronger than anything he'd ever experienced. His flames erupted around him, uncontrolled and fierce, blazing high into the sky. Alarmed, he fought to suppress the power, but it only grew stronger, and for a moment, he felt his mind slipping. Just as he thought he would lose himself entirely, Elder Jin appeared, his calm presence cutting through the chaos. With a single motion, the elder suppressed Li Wei's flames, guiding his energy back under control. Exhausted, Li Wei fell to his knees, his hands trembling. Elder Jin knelt beside him, his voice firm yet gentle. "Li Wei, you cannot master this power alone. The phoenix is both a gift and a curse, and without balance, it will consume you." The elder revealed that he had known of Feng Huang's spirit for years and had been waiting for someone like Li Wei to inherit its power. But he warned that Li Wei would need to undergo an ancient ritual, a test of both will and soul, to fully bind with the phoenix, or risk losing himself forever. Determined, Li Wei agreed, knowing that this was his only chance to tame the flames. Chapter 13: The Soul Bond Ritual. Under Elder Jin's guidance, Li Wei prepared for the soul bond ritual, a rare and dangerous practice that would bind his soul with Feng Huang, allowing him to fully integrate the phoenix's power. The ritual would test every aspect of his character, challenging his fears, his doubts, and his very identity. On the night of the ritual, Li Wei stood within a sacred circle of runes, surrounded by ancient talismans that pulsed with spiritual energy. Elder Jin began chanting, invoking the phoenix's essence as the flames within Li Wei ignited. At first, he felt a surge of strength, but soon the flames turned inward, scorching his mind and revealing his deepest fears. Visions of his family's fall flooded his mind, echoes of his past that threatened to break his spirit. He saw himself consumed by the flames, reduced to nothingness, as his enemies laughed and his friends turned away. But through the chaos, Feng Huang's voice emerged, calm and powerful. "Remember your purpose, Li Wei. You are the flame that will rise above destruction. With those words, Li Wei found his resolve. He faced each fear, confronting the shame and regret that had plagued him, until he emerged on the other side, his spirit blazing with newfound clarity. When the ritual concluded, the flames settled within him, calm yet powerful, as if Feng Huang itself had finally accepted him as its host. As Elder Zhen stepped back, he looked upon Li Wei with pride. The young cultivator had survived the soul bond ritual, something that few had ever achieved. But the elder's expression soon turned grave. Li Wei's journey was far from over, for the Phoenix's true enemies, the ancient factions who had destroyed his family, were already drawing near, sensing the rebirth of the celestial Phoenix. With his power now bound to his very soul, Li Wei stood ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead, for he was no longer just a servant or an outcast. He was the Phoenix reborn. Chapter 14: The Arrival. The air was thick with tension and excitement as the sects gathered on the vast plains outside the celestial arena, where the grand tournament was held once every decade. Li Wei and Yu Ling, alongside other disciples from their sect, gazed up at the towering stone pillars that marked the entrance. Flags bearing the emblems of every sect fluttered in the wind, a reminder of the many powerful foes they would soon face. Walking through the tournament grounds, Li Wei felt eyes on him, some curious, others wary. Rumors of the Phoenix spirit had spread, casting him as both a rising talent and a possible threat. Beside him, Yu Ling leaned in, whispering, "Stay calm. They're just trying to unnerve you." Her words settled his nerves. Whatever awaited him, he would meet it with resolve. Chapter 15: The Duel Begins. In the first round, Li Wei found himself facing off against Zhao Chen, a fierce disciple from the Silver Blade sect, known for his lightning speed sword techniques. The arena was filled with spectators, their eyes fixed on the young cultivators below. Zhao Chen wasted no time, charging forward with a flurry of strikes that sparked as his blade cut through the air. Li Wei felt the heat of each strike grazing him, narrowly dodging and parrying. Finally, he summoned his Phoenix Feather Strike, his flames dancing in sync with his movements. Zhao Chen faltered, his sword hand trembling as the fire swirled around him, forcing him to concede. Li Wei lowered his hands, victorious, but noted the wary stares from the crowd. His control over the Phoenix flames had left a powerful impression. Chapter 16: An Unexpected Ally. In the aftermath of his victory, Li Wei wandered the tournament grounds, his thoughts on the challenges still ahead. Suddenly, a voice called out to him. A young woman with sharp eyes and a confident stance introduced herself as Mei Lan of the Azure Serpent sect. Mei Lan had watched his duel, intrigued by his skill and discipline. "I know what it's like to be underestimated," she said, extending a hand. "If you need an ally, find me." Li Wei sensed a rare sincerity in her words and shook her hand. This was his first alliance outside his own sect, and he hoped it would be one he could trust. Chapter 17: Shadows Among Rivals. During the night, a sense of unease settled over the tournament grounds. Strange figures moved in the shadows, and Li Wei caught glimpses of hooded disciples whispering among themselves. Feng Huang's presence within him stirred, sensing danger. Yu Ling, too, noticed the change in atmosphere. "Some of the sects here may not be honorable competitors," she murmured. Later, Li Wei overheard whispers of the Scarlet Lotus sect, a sect with a dark reputation for ruthless tactics. It was rumored they were looking for ways to weaken rival disciples, using underhanded methods in hopes of victory. Li Wei steeled himself, knowing he would have to stay vigilant in this competition, not just against rivals in the arena but also in the shadows. Chapter 18: The Power of Control. In the second round, Li Wei faced off against a disciple who wielded powerful water techniques, an opponent skilled at extinguishing fire. As the fight began, torrents of water circled Li Wei, threatening to douse his flames. Struggling to maintain his footing, he heard Feng Huang's voice within, urging calm. With renewed focus, Li Wei changed his tactic, using only small bursts of flame rather than his usual large displays. He allowed his opponent's water techniques to overreach, waiting for an opening. In a final, calculated move, he unleashed a concentrated phoenix flame burst at close range, evaporating the water and winning the duel. His mastery over his power was growing, and so too was the Phoenix's influence. Chapter 19: A Test of Faith. Between matches, Li Wei sought out Elder Zhen, who had traveled with the sect to observe the tournament. The elder warned him, with each victory, you're drawing attention from those who seek the phoenix's power for themselves. The spirit you carry is both a blessing and a curse. Li Wei nodded, feeling the weight of the elder's words. He was beginning to understand that the phoenix's power required more than physical strength, it demanded a resilient heart and mind. Alone that night, he meditated, feeling Feng Huang's flames pulse within him, a constant reminder of both his potential and the responsibility he bore. Chapter 20, Treachery Unveiled. On the eve of the semifinals, Li Wei and Yu Ling were ambushed while training. Hooded figures from the Scarlet Lotus sect surrounded them, their leader sneering as he said, "Your power belongs to us, Phoenix Boy." Without warning, they attacked. Li Wei's flames erupted in a fierce wave, but the attackers were relentless, using dark chi techniques to subdue him. Yu Ling fought at his side, throwing smoke bombs to obscure their movements. Despite their skill, the ambushers' numbers overwhelmed them, and they were backed into a corner. Just as hope began to fade, a familiar figure appeared, Mei Lan, striking down the attackers with swift, lethal blows. The remaining figures fled, leaving Li Wei, Yu Ling, and Mei Lan breathing heavily. Mei Lan looked at him, her gaze fierce. "You're not safe here, Li Wei. We need to be ready for more than just the tournament." Chapter 21, Fire and Trust. Li Wei, Yu Ling, and Mei Lan formed a tighter alliance after the ambush, training together and watching each other's backs. Their combined techniques complemented each other. Mei Lan's agility, Yu Ling's alchemy, and Li Wei's flame abilities made them a formidable trio. As they trained, Li Wei noticed his flames becoming more precise, each movement guided by Feng Huang's ancient wisdom. As their trust grew, Mei Lan shared her reason for joining the tournament, to gain strength to protect her sect from a powerful rogue cultivator. Her determination resonated with Li Wei, reminding him of his own journey and the enemies he would inevitably face. For the first time, he felt as though he wasn't alone in bearing a heavy burden. Chapter 22, The Final Duel. The day of the final round arrived, and the arena buzzed with excitement. Li Wei was set to face Rinbo, the prodigy of the Iron Mountain sect, a sect known for its mastery of earth techniques. Renbo's strength was formidable, and his stone armor seemed impenetrable. But Li Wei's spirit burned, determined to show the full extent of his growth. As the duel began, Rinbo summoned walls of stone to block Li Wei's flames, his defense unbreakable. But Li Wei had anticipated this. Channeling Feng Huang's energy, he created a concentrated Phoenix Inferno, a fire so intense it melted the stone on contact. Renbo was forced to yield, his defenses shattered. The crowd erupted in applause, acknowledging Li Wei's victory. Chapter 23, The Aftermath. Following his triumph, Li Wei returned to his sect with Yu Ling and Mei Lan, but the victory was bittersweet. The Scarlet Lotus sect had vanished without a trace after their failed ambush, leaving a trail of rumors and suspicion. Elder Zhen commended Li Wei's growth but warned him that true strength lay not just in winning battles, but in preparing for the unseen threats yet to come. Chapter 24, Revelation of the Phoenix's Past. One night, as Li Wei meditated, Feng Huang's voice grew stronger, guiding him into a vision of the Phoenix's past life. He saw ancient wars, destruction, and betrayal, a cycle of rebirth and vengeance. The vision revealed the origins of the factions that had destroyed his family, each one seeking to exploit the Phoenix spirit for their own ends. When he awoke, Li Wei was left with a newfound clarity and determination. His family's fate was not just a tragedy but part of a larger scheme, and he would not let history repeat itself. He vowed to uncover the truth and protect those he cared about. Chapter 25, A New Path. With the tournament behind him and new allies at his side, Li Wei knew his journey was far from over. He had grown stronger, but he was only beginning to understand the depth of his power and the threats he faced. Standing under the starlit sky, he felt Feng Huang's presence, a fiery resolve burning within him. The path forward was treacherous, but he was no longer just a disciple with a cursed past. He was the Phoenix reborn, and he would fight to protect those he loved, no matter the cost. Chapter 26, A Shattered Truce. Returning to his sect, Li Wei barely has time to recover before alarming news reaches him. The Scarlet Lotus sect has allied with several rogue cultivators, emboldening them to attack weaker sections. This rogue alliance destabilizes the region, and Li Wei's sect leaders call for an emergency council. As Li Wei listens to the elders argue about defensive strategies, he realizes he must find a way to strike first, before the enemy spreads chaos unchecked. That night, he sneaks away to discuss a plan with Mei Lan and Yu Ling together. They devise a strategy to counter the rogue sects, but the risks are immense. They know that if they're caught acting without the elders' approval, the consequences could be severe. Chapter 27, Into the Depths. The next night, Li Wei, Yu Ling, and Mei Lan set out under cover of darkness, traveling toward a rumored hideout of the Scarlet Lotus sect. The journey takes them through dangerous terrain, with traps and ambushes set by the rogue sections. At one point, they're attacked by a venomous beast, a giant serpent guarding the path. Mei Lan, with her deep knowledge of serpents, guides them through, her calm and precise attacks bringing down the beast. As they approach the rogue cultivator's lair, they prepare for the fight ahead, but doubts linger in Li Wei's mind. This mission could very well be a one-way journey. Chapter 28, The Rogue Cultivator's Lair. In the heart of a ruined temple, they find the rogue cultivators gathered. Li Wei and his allies quietly observe, but the phoenix spirit within him stirs, sensing danger. Feng Huang's voice warns him, and just then, a trap springs. Dozens of rogue cultivators appear, their dark chi filling the air. Surrounded, the three fight in perfect coordination, using every ounce of skill they have. Li Wei's flames sear through the shadows, while Yu Ling creates barriers, and Mei Lan strikes down foes with calculated precision. Despite their best efforts, the enemy's numbers overwhelm them, and escape seems impossible. But as Li Wei's energy fades, a vision from Feng Huang guides him, enabling him to unleash a powerful burst of flame that clears a path. Chapter 29, A Narrow Escape. Exhausted and wounded, the trio barely manages to escape the rogue lair, retreating to a hidden grove to recover. Mei Lan tends to their injuries, revealing her skill in healing techniques. As they rest, she tells them of her past struggles with her own sex enemies, her quiet determination inspiring Li Wei. Meanwhile, Li Wei contemplates the phoenix's vision and its deeper implications. The phoenix spirit has shown him that the rogue sects are but the beginning of the trials to come. Chapter 30, A Warning Ignored. When they return to their sect, Elder Zhen reprimands Li Wei and the others for acting without permission. However, Li Wei passionately argues that they can't stand idle while rogue sects plot against them. Despite his boldness, the elders refuse to acknowledge the threat, citing lack of proof and warning Li Wei to focus on his cultivation. Frustrated, Li Wei shares his concerns with Yu Ling, who encourages him to find strength within and continue training. Determined, Li Wei returns to his meditation, seeking deeper communion with Feng Huang, hoping the spirit will reveal new techniques to help him face the dangers ahead. Chapter 31, The Spirit's Test. In his meditation, Feng Huang appears before him, more tangible than ever before. The phoenix spirit warns that while Li Wei has gained strength, he has yet to prove his heart's purity. Feng Huang sets a trial within his mind, forcing Li Wei to confront his deepest fears, the loss of his family, his insecurities, and the temptation of unchecked power. Struggling through the test, Li Wei emerges with greater resolve, his bond with the phoenix spirit stronger than ever. As he awakens, he feels a new energy coursing through him, his flames more controlled and powerful. Chapter 32, A Fateful Meeting. Days later, Li Wei encounters an enigmatic traveler outside the sect, a blind, wandering martial artist named Master Shen. Shen senses the phoenix spirit within him and offers wisdom on balancing power and humility. Although skeptical at first, Li Wei feels an instinctive respect for Shen, who gives him advice on enhancing his spirit energy and invites him to visit an ancient shrine dedicated to the phoenix. Inspired, Li Wei accepts, setting off with Shen to explore the shrine and seek deeper knowledge of the phoenix spirit. Chapter 33, The Shrine of the Phoenix. The shrine is hidden deep in the mountains, surrounded by ancient, weathered statues of mythical beasts. There, Li Wei meditates under Shen's guidance, attuning himself to the spirit's true essence. As he meditates, visions of past phoenix hosts appear, each one having faced trials similar to his own. At dawn, he awakens with newfound clarity, the wisdom of past hosts echoing within him. His spirit feels lighter, his control over the flames sharpened. Master Shen smiles, sensing Li Wei's growth, and parts ways with him, his mission fulfilled. Chapter 34, Dark Clouds Gather. Upon returning, Li Wei discovers that his sect is under threat. The Scarlet Lotus sect has allied with a shadowy figure known only as the Dark Herald. This figure is rumored to have mastery over forbidden techniques and the ability to control spirit beasts. The elders summon Li Wei, informing him that they believe his phoenix spirit is the key to repelling this new threat. Though honored, Li Wei feels the pressure mounting. Elder Zhen warns him to prepare for an imminent clash that could alter the balance of power in the cultivation world. Chapter 35, New Techniques, New Resolve. Training intensifies as Li Wei hones his flame techniques, learning to condense his fire into precise, blazing strikes. He also begins training with Yu Ling and Mei Lan to refine their teamwork. Together, they develop a powerful combination attack, with Yu Ling's barriers directing Mei Lan's swift strikes and Li Wei's fire providing devastating force. As they train, Li Wei senses a shift within the phoenix spirit, a deepening bond that grants him glimpses of its ancient memories, moments of glory and tragedy that fuel his resolve. Chapter 36, The Dark Herald's Arrival. The day finally comes when the Dark Herald and his forces arrive, their aura casting a dark shadow over the land. The Scarlet Lotus sect stands beside him, their numbers swelling with rogue cultivators eager to conquer. Li Wei stands at the forefront, the flames of the phoenix spirit blazing within him. As battle begins, the Dark Herald's voice echoes across the battlefield, taunting Li Wei and challenging his resolve. The clash is brutal, with Li Wei and his allies struggling to fend off wave after wave of attacks, yet his determination never falters. Chapter 41, The Aftermath of Victory. The battlefield lay quiet as the last of the Dark Herald's forces fled. Li Wei's flames slowly dimmed, and exhaustion washed over him. His allies approached, their faces a mix of relief and respect. Elder Zhen, with tears glistening in his eyes, proclaimed the sect's victory, honoring the courage of all who had fought. Yet, amid the celebrations, Li Wei felt the weight of the phoenix's power settling more deeply within him. He knew this victory was but one chapter in a long struggle. Chapter 42, Shadows Linger. As the sect began rebuilding, scouts reported remnants of the Scarlet Lotus sect rallying under new leadership. These remnants were more determined, driven by vengeance for the Dark Herald's defeat. To make matters worse, whispers of other dark factions and forbidden cultivators rising in power spread throughout the land. Li Wei met with Yu Ling and Mei Lan to discuss their next move. They all agreed that their victory had painted a target on their backs. They needed to grow stronger, not just for themselves, but for all those depending on them. Chapter 43, The Gathering Storm. Li Wei's sect decided to form alliances with other sects, hoping to deter the rogue cultivators by uniting their strength. Delegations from the Azure Serpent sect and several smaller sects convened, with Li Wei, Mei Lan, and Yu Ling acting as representatives. However, tensions ran high, mistrust lingered, especially toward Li Wei and the Phoenix Spirit. A powerful elder from a neighboring sect challenged Li Wei to a duel, demanding proof of his intentions and strength. Reluctantly, Li Wei accepted. The duel was intense, with the elder using advanced techniques meant to suppress spirit energy. Li Wei, with Feng Huang's guidance, unleashed a restrained but decisive display of power, earning respect from the gathered factions. Chapter 44, Secrets Unveiled. During the alliance talks, an elder presented an ancient text revealing more about the Phoenix Spirit. According to the text, the Phoenix was tied to cycles of rebirth and destruction. Its host often fated to either save or ruin the cultivation world. This revelation shook Li Wei, who feared becoming a tool of destiny. Seeking answers, Li Wei returned to the Phoenix Shrine. As he meditated, Feng Huang showed him visions of past hosts, some who triumphed and others who succumbed to corruption. The spirit urged Li Wei to forge his own path, free from fate's chains. Li Wei vowed to do just that. Chapter 45, A New Mentor. While training, Li Wei encountered an enigmatic swordsman named Jin Shu, known for defeating rogue cultivators with remarkable speed. Intrigued by Li Wei's spirit flame, Jin Shu offered to train him in combining sword techniques with flame control. Under Jin Shu's harsh, unorthodox training, Li Wei learned to channel flames through a blade, increasing his precision and power. Their training was brutal, with Jin Shu often forcing Li Wei to fight blindfolded or while surrounded by traps. But with each grueling session, Li Wei grew stronger and more confident. Chapter 46, Trials of the Heart. Amid training, Mei Lan revealed her sect was under siege from a rogue faction using dark spirit beasts. Torn between duty to her own sect and her promise to Li Wei, she prepared to leave. Li Wei and Yu Ling insisted on accompanying her, knowing she couldn't face this alone. Together, they journeyed to the Azure Serpent sect, where they found devastation. The rogue faction's leader, a beastmaster named Sun Fei, unleashed monstrous spirit creatures that overwhelmed their defenses. Li Wei, Mei Lan, and Yu Ling fought desperately, barely managing to hold their ground. Chapter 47, The Serpent's Fury. In a last-ditch effort, Mei Lan called upon an ancient serpent spirit bonded to her family. This spirit, weakened but proud, agreed to fight once more. As it clashed with Sun Fei's beasts, Li Wei channeled his phoenix flames, combining with Mei Lan's serpent energy to unleash devastating attacks. Yu Ling's alchemical barriers protected them from harm. Though victorious, Mei Lan's bond with the serpent spirit nearly broke, leaving her weakened. As they rested, Li Wei realized the toll their battles were taking not just on their bodies, but on their spirits as well. Chapter 48, Bonds Strengthened. After saving Mei Lan's sect, the trio returned to their own, their bond stronger than ever. The other disciples hailed them as heroes, but Li Wei grew wary of the constant attention and burden of leadership. He confided in Yu Ling, who reassured him that they would face whatever came together. That night, he meditated deeply, sensing Feng Huang's warmth, a reminder that he was never truly alone. Chapter 49, New Enemies in the Shadows. Reports of missing cultivators and dark rituals emerged, pointing to a new, hidden threat. The elders suspected a dark sect known as the Void Seekers, masters of soul manipulation and forbidden spells. Li Wei and his allies were tasked with investigating. They tracked the Void Seekers to a hidden valley, finding themselves surrounded by a sinister energy that drained their strength. As they pressed on, they discovered imprisoned cultivators, their life essence being siphoned. The Void Seekers' leader, a masked figure wielding void magic, taunted them, revealing that they sought the Phoenix Spirit's power for their own dark ends. Chapter 50, Battle with the Void Seekers. The fight against the Void Seekers was brutal, with the masked leader warping reality itself. Li Wei struggled, his flames flickering against the void's consuming darkness. Feng Huang urged him to burn brighter, and he unleashed the Phoenix Purge, a powerful cleansing fire that pushed back the void. Yu Ling used her alchemy to weaken the dark energy, while Mei Lan struck precise blows. In a final act, they combined their strengths to shatter the leader's defenses. Severely wounded, the masked figure fled, vowing vengeance. Chapter 51, The Path of Reflection. After the battle, Li Wei sought solitude. The masked leader's words haunted him, warning of what the Phoenix Spirit's power could become if corrupted. Eldershan spoke to him, offering wisdom: power is neither good nor evil. Only you can choose how to wield it. Encouraged, Li Wei returned to his training, determined to master himself. Chapter 52, The Festival of Unity. To strengthen alliances and boost morale, the allied sects hosted a grand festival. Competitions, displays of martial arts, and bonding activities were held. For a moment, Li Wei, Yu Ling, and Mei Lan were able to relax, sharing laughter and stories. Li Wei realized that even amid strife, there was room for hope. During the festival, Li Wei sparred with allies, impressing even the elders with his refined control over the Phoenix Spirit. But joy was short-lived. A messenger brought grim news of an impending attack by the Void Seekers. Chapter 53, Preparing for War. With war on the horizon, the sects fortified their defenses and devised strategies. Li Wei, now a respected leader, trained day and night, preparing his body and mind for the battles to come. He guided younger disciples, inspiring them with tales of his trials and his determination to protect them. Meanwhile, Mei Lan and Yu Ling worked tirelessly, perfecting their combined techniques. Trust and camaraderie became their greatest strengths. Chapter 54, The Siege of Light's Reach. The Void Seekers launched a full-scale assault on Light's Reach, a strategic stronghold. The battle raged for days, with waves of dark cultivators and corrupted beasts attacking relentlessly. Li Wei led the charge, his flames cutting through darkness, while Yu Ling's alchemical barriers protected their flanks. Mei Lan's swift strikes turned the tide in many skirmishes. In the heart of battle, the masked Void Seeker leader appeared, his power even more fearsome than before. Chapter 55, Sacrifices Made. As the battle reached its peak, a powerful void rift threatened to consume the entire battlefield. With no other options, a senior elder sacrificed himself to seal the rift temporarily. His final words urged Li Wei to find a way to permanently end the Void Seeker's threat. The loss struck deep, reminding Li Wei of the heavy cost of their struggle. Chapter 56: The Hunt for the Masked Leader. Determined to end the threat once and for all, Li Wei and his allies embarked on a perilous journey to track down the Masked Leader's stronghold. Along the way, they faced traps, betrayals, and dangerous trials that tested their resolve. Li Wei's bond with Feng Huang grew stronger, granting him visions that guided their path. Chapter 57: Descent into Darkness. The stronghold was hidden deep underground, surrounded by layers of void energy. As they descended, Li Wei felt the oppressive weight of darkness pressing down on him. Memories of past failures threatened to break his spirit, but Yuling and Mei Lan's unwavering presence kept him grounded. The trio fought their way through hordes of twisted cultivators, their combined strength unmatched. But each step deeper brought them closer to the Masked Leader's lair and the final confrontation. Chapter 58: The Final Confrontation. In a vast chamber pulsing with void energy, the Masked Leader awaited, his power at its peak. He revealed his true identity, a fallen phoenix host, corrupted by the spirits. Power. His name was Tianren, a host who had once sought to wield the phoenix flames to reshape the cultivation world but had succumbed to the allure of darkness and void magic. Li Wei, Mei Lan, and Yuling steeled themselves for the greatest battle of their lives. Tianren's mastery of both phoenix flames and void energy made him nearly invincible. His attacks distorted reality, warping the chamber and making it seem as if their very surroundings were alive with malice. Chapter 59: Flames and Shadows. The battle raged, Li Wei's phoenix flames clashing against Tianren's corrupted fire. Sparks of white-hot flame and tendrils of dark energy filled the chamber. Mei Lan and Yuling supported Li Wei, targeting weak points and creating openings, but each strike only seemed to make Tianren more enraged. Realizing that brute strength alone would not defeat him, Li Wei began channeling the Phoenix Rebirth Flame, focusing on purity and renewal. He understood that the only way to defeat Tianren was to purge the darkness that had corrupted him. Chapter 60: A New Dawn. As the battle reached its climax, Li Wei pushed himself beyond his limits, drawing upon every memory, every bond, and every ounce of strength he possessed. The Phoenix spirit within him resonated, offering its full power and trust. With Mei Lan and Yuling by his side, they unleashed a combined attack, light, flame, and spirit energy merging in a blinding explosion. Tianren's void energy shattered, and his corrupted form fell. For a brief moment, his true self emerged, a man who once sought greatness but fell to despair. He thanked Li Wei before fading into nothingness, leaving behind a fragment of the Phoenix spirit, purified and renewed. The battle was over, but its toll was great. Exhausted, Li Wei collapsed, the burden of his journey weighing heavily on him. Yuling and Mei Lan swore to protect him, knowing that more challenges would come. But for now, they had won a moment of peace, and Li Wei knew that together, they could face whatever destiny had in store. With the defeat of the corrupted Phoenix host, Li Wei's journey continues, but the balance of light and darkness remains fragile. New alliances will be forged, and new enemies will rise. Yet, in the bonds of friendship and the unyielding flames within him, Li Wei finds hope for the battles to come. Chapter 61: Rest and Recovery. With Tianren defeated, the trio returned to their sect as heroes, but the victory came at a great cost. Li Wei remained bedridden for days, recovering from the strain of channeling the Phoenix Rebirth Flame. Mei Lan and Yuling stood vigil by his side, tending to his wounds and protecting him from potential threats. Elder Zhen, recognizing the weight Li Wei carried, assured him that no one expected him to shoulder every burden alone. The younger disciples were inspired by his strength but also saw the toll it took, and they vowed to train harder so they could stand with him in the future. Chapter 62: A Bond Unbreakable. As Li Wei's strength gradually returned, his bond with Mei Lan and Yuling deepened. During quiet moments, they reflected on their journey, the triumphs, losses, and sacrifices. Mei Lan opened up about her fears of losing her family's legacy and how Li Wei's determination had given her new hope. Yuling confessed she had once doubted herself but now saw their strength as inseparable. Their bond became more than friendship, it was a promise to protect one another, no matter the cost. This unity would prove essential as new threats emerged. Chapter 63: The Ancient Prophecy. A visiting scholar arrived at the sect, bearing ancient texts that spoke of a prophecy tied to the phoenix spirit. According to the prophecy, every 1,000 years, the phoenix's power would either bring an era of enlightenment or unleash catastrophic destruction, depending on the intentions of its host. Li Wei struggled with the weight of this revelation. Was he destined to fulfill a role beyond his control? Mei Lan reminded him that destiny was shaped by choices, not predetermined. Together, they vowed to steer the phoenix's power towards salvation. Chapter 64, Shadows Resurface. While studying the prophecy, scouts reported sightings of void cult remnants gathering in the western reaches. Though leaderless, these cultists were desperate and dangerous, willing to sacrifice everything to resurrect their fallen master's ambitions. The sect elders tasked Li Wei and his allies with dismantling these factions before they could grow stronger. Traveling west, Li Wei, Mei Lan, and Yuling faced ambushes and traps designed to weaken their resolve. However, their bond kept them strong, allowing them to outmaneuver their enemies. Chapter 65, Trials of Fire. The cult's stronghold was hidden within a labyrinthine series of volcanic caverns. To reach it, the trio had to face brutal trials of endurance, navigating through molten rivers and surviving waves of fire beasts. Li Wei's mastery of flame was both an asset and a burden, as the heat threatened to consume even him. In the depths of the caverns, they confronted a high-ranking void cultist who wielded corrupted fire. The cultist sought to turn Li Wei's power against him, claiming the phoenix spirit would eventually destroy him. Despite the overwhelming odds, Li Wei's unbreakable will and his companions' support allowed him to triumph. Chapter 66, Spirit Awakening. After their victory, Li Wei sensed a shift in the phoenix spirit within him. It communicated directly, sharing memories of past hosts who had fallen to darkness or risen as heroes. For the first time, Li Wei understood the depth of his connection with the spirit. It was a force seeking balance and change, neither inherently good nor evil. Accepting this, Li Wei resolved to master the phoenix's power fully. The spirit's awakening brought new abilities but also new dangers, as every use risked tipping the balance within him. Chapter 67, A New Foe Emerges. While the cult remnants were weakened, a new threat loomed: a rogue cultivator known as the Crimson Sage, infamous for manipulating the flow of life and death. The Crimson Sage had gathered followers who believed true power lay in breaking all natural cycles, including life itself. The sects convened a council to discuss the threat. Old rivalries threatened to fracture their alliances, but Li Wei's leadership and recent victories gave him the authority to unite them. Together, they vowed to hunt down the Crimson Sage. Chapter 68, The Siege of Bloodstone Keep. The Crimson Sage's lair, Bloodstone Keep, was fortified with deadly traps and wards. As the Allied forces launched their assault, Li Wei and his allies led the vanguard, battling through hordes of corrupted cultivators. Every step forward felt like a victory over death itself. In a climactic battle, the Crimson Sage unleashed forbidden life-draining techniques. Li Wei, Mei Lan, and Yuling combined their powers, channeling light, flame, and alchemy to counter his dark magic. The battle pushed them to their limits, but in the end, the sage was defeated, his influence shattered. Chapter 69, Healing Old Wounds. With victory came reflection. The Allied sects celebrated their triumph, but beneath the surface, old grudges and suspicions remained. Li Wei, seeing the fragility of their unity, dedicated himself to healing these divisions. Through diplomacy, shared training, and mutual respect, he sought to build true bonds of trust. Mei Lan, Yuling, and Li Wei trained younger disciples from all sects, fostering a new generation of cultivators with a shared purpose. Chapter 70, A Glimpse of Peace. For the first time in a long while, the cultivation world experienced a brief moment of peace. Li Wei and his allies took this time to reflect, train, and strengthen their bonds. Mei Lan's sect honored her leadership with a grand ceremony, and Yuling perfected new alchemical techniques that combined their strengths. As they looked out over their sect's flourishing grounds, Li Wei realized that their journey was far from over. But for now, there was light, a reminder that hope and peace were worth fighting for.